archetype. And so again, we've been building with all of these archetypes. So we started with day 1, which was the creator. Day 2 is the dancer. The third archetype was dynamo. The 4th was the lover. The 5th was the practical, and the 6th is the idealist. So today we're going to get into the energy and the frequency of the idealist, and we're going to see how that shows up in relationships. And you're going to be able to recognize if you see it in yourself and other people. But I think the most important thing for you to know and understand is that everybody has a dream and a vision inside them for what's possible in their relationships. And it's important for us to connect into that and to be able to know exactly what it is you desire and what it is you want and what's healthy and best for you. And know that that's possible, and know that you deserve it, and know that it can be a real thing for you. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about compromise. We're going to talk about a lot of things today. But before we do get started, I did want to remind you and share with you guys kind of looking forward towards where we're heading. And before we kind of dive into the 6th archetype, we wanted to let you know that we do have an opportunity for you to continue to move forward with us with this journey and discovery into relationships. And that if you found value in this approach to understanding your relationships and yourself, and if you like this archetypal lens and it really helped you get into like the embodiment of it and wear the costume and bring it into your life, then we are doing something called a Venus Immersion. And the Venus Immersion is going to be a 4-month journey into your Venus sequence. And this is a sequence in your gene key profile. The gene keys are a blueprint of who you are and how to get into alignment with basically that highest expression, the truest expression of you. I'm going to show a picture. For those of you that don't know what the heck it is, I'm just going to show you briefly what this picture of a chart looks like, just so that you know. So we've been talking about the 6 archetypes, right? So we didn't get into the technical terms of it all, but we're talking about the 6 lines. So if you look right here, you can see that this is line 5. This is my chart. So I am part practical and part creator. So I have the practical archetype and the creator archetype. These that are on the outside are 70% of your personality. And so that's why we can look at these to say, how do you really show up in relationships? Now, that doesn't mean I don't have any of the other archetypes within my design. If I look, I have the dancer, I have the lover, I have the idealist, I have more of the creator. And then when you go into other profiles like your human design, you can see way more. But for the purpose of talking about the Venus sequence, where we are taking you right now is into the red stream, into the Venus stream. Bella, did you want to talk a little bit about what this is, or something that's important for them to know about this journey?
And we are speaking about wholeness, and that's also what we have done this week. We started from the bottom in the root chakra, and then we moved up through the chakras, through the elements. And I would say that the Venus sequence is a similar journey, but much deeper. So we are reclaiming parts of ourselves so that the mental, the emotional, the physical, the spiritual can work together. And also reclaiming, I think Ashley was mentioning that yesterday, the periods of our childhood or adolescence. So we go in 7-year increments from the moment we were born. And we look at those because the first 7 years, it was our physical body that developed. And the next 7 years, the emotional body. And the third 7 years, the mental body. And many of the things that we don't even remember can still be there, affecting us in a good or a bad way. But in the Venus sequence is really to look at it all and to not really have a judgment of what influence that's in becoming more or what influences in becoming less, but just really go in with complete honesty. And also, like we were saying the very first day, we use our relationships because the contemplation of what shows up in relationship in that mirroring is the way, it's the only thing we need to grow, the only thing we need to even awaken. And having worked with many years now it feels like with the Venus, I mean, I don't know how many times I kind of really went through it, but I know that I read the whole book at least 5-6 times. And there's always something new. There are layers. So it's this kind of spiral dynamics that we're speaking about too, that every time you thread your Venus, you can thread it with a little bit more love, a little bit more compassion, a little bit more wisdom, hopefully. And And what I have missed on my journey, I would say, is that the aspect or feeling that I'm so on a solitary journey, and that I didn't feel like sometimes it would have been nice to have a sounding board, somebody who could just listen, not maybe giving me feedback, but maybe somebody who had been through it before. So what I'm excited about is to be able to be that for each other and to hold that space, just sometimes for listening and sometimes for a little bit of feedback. That's something that I feel, the dynamism of relating, that a feedback can be good, and it doesn't mean a judgment. It just means like another lens, another perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what the Venus sequence give us, the opportunity to see things with new lenses, through a new spectrum. And then we can, through that, when awareness and everything comes up, we grow. There's no other way. So yeah, I guess that's the main thing, how I relate to the Venus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really important journey, and whether you're new or seasoned and you've done this before, there's always new things to uncover. Like I've been saying with my family, my daughter's super into Frozen and Moana, and I remember watching Moana so many times, and I could memorize all the songs. But every single time we watched it, I would see something new, a new lesson, a new thing that needed to speak to me. And so every time I go into the Venus, I'm always getting a new lesson, something that didn't pop out before. If you guys didn't know, Richard Rudd is the one that brought through this transmission and this pathway and this journey. And so he wrote books on it, right? So that you can read about your gene keys. Mostly if you buy the gene key book, what you're getting is the first number right here. But he has a program called the Golden Path Program that he has created and curated, and has accompanying books and videos and all that to go through it. So me and Bella have been through that. We've been through this understanding. We've embodied a lot of the process and the understanding of it. And now the way that we approach it is very different than how he approaches it. So it's really a creation of our own. Like we're using what he has created and what he's brought through, and we're making it more practical and making it more applicable, and also creating this group dynamic as well, so that you again don't have to do it alone. And so we bring it a completely different way. So if you've been resonating with this, we would love to have you on that journey. And like I said, the 6 archetypes that we've been going through, we've kind of been hanging out in the purpose sphere. We've been weaving in parts of the activation sequence as well, but we've been hanging out in the purpose sphere because when you can align with what's the purpose of my relationships, what is going to ground me into myself and allow me to be ready to say yes to someone else, to a relationship, to have relating. And that is how we're going to attract people to us that are going to be those mirrors, that are going to help us go back into our childhood to see things. If we drop the blame, drop the projections, drop everything and say, I'm actually ready to come into my own wholeness. I don't need relationships to complete me. They just add to me. So that's kind of where we're going in the Venus immersion. And so we'll post the link to that. Right now we have about until the 10th. So you guys have 2 full days to register for the Venus immersion. It's $222. Then it goes up to $333. So for the next 2 days until the 10th of August, we have an early bird special, a promo to get you in, and we're actually going to begin this journey on the 20th. So not next week, but the following week. So you guys have a little time to integrate, to look at these archetypes, and then we're going to take you into a 4-month journey into this whole sequence. And let me tell you, it's understanding who you are, what your gifts are, activating your genius, and then opening your heart and coming back into wholeness, liberating your masculine, your feminine, so they can come into the queen and king within you, so that you can open your heart and let yourself sit on the throne of your heart. And then you're able to open up into the pearl sequence, where you are truly activating altruism and liberating your prosperity. A lot of people just try to force their way into this, and you can't really get here unless you've grounded in and really done the work and opened your heart. Like I was saying in the other call, remember, we need to open up our Ka channel. We have to be able to receive. We have to have the strength of our spine. We have to have a soft belly. We have to have an open heart. And that's when our truth comes through. And that's when people start to receive it and hear it. And we're not giving to receive. we are overflowing and knowing that we're whole, healed, and we're ready to serve the world altruistically. And that's when people really resonate with your message, because they know that you have no expectation of them. They don't really need you to give them anything. It's that they're sharing their genius, they're sharing their wisdom, they're sharing their truth. And that's what fulfills them, is the act that they're so aligned and so creatively expressed in the world that they need nothing from you. And so that feels really good to the people that you're reaching and touching, because they know that there's no expectation of them, because they've lived in a world of conditional love. And when you can be unconditionally loving to them, they feel that, and they're like, well, I've never felt this anywhere before. And I don't think there's a lot of people walking around on the earth, myself included. I'm not there yet. I don't think hardly anyone is, but we can get closer and closer and closer to that alignment, and we'll taste this frequency of altruism, where we're giving from this place of overflow, and we're also balancing, I know what I need, I know what you need, and I'm not going to give you what you need to the detriment of me, and I'm not going to be so selfish that I'm not including you. So I would love for any of you that feel called to join us. And if you do feel called to say yes, or if you've already joined and jumped into this and you're like ready and just say I'm in. Let us know that you're with us, because we're super excited to go there. And we're very, very excited that we were able to do this 6-day series to get you into alignment with these different archetypes to help you shift in your relationship. Because the first step is to say, yes, I'm committed to my relationships. If you're not committed and you're 1 foot in and 1 foot out, then the Venus sequence is always going to be that. Is this flippy floppy of like, I'm not committed, I am committed. But if you step into this with a commitment to yourself and to the other, that you say, I'm committed to this process of mirroring, I'm committed to this, it's going to bear fruit for you, because the commitment's there, because the devotion there. So anything you want to add, Bella, before we jump into numero?
Yeah, maybe just that thing about maybe about the process, that you all know that Richard Rudd's path is the path of contemplation, and it's really, even the last book he wrote is the path of contemplation, and that is a deep journey. Sometimes it feels solitary, and I would say that's still something that I encourage everybody to do, the path of contemplation. What we are opening the door for here is the path of exploration and experience together. And that goes together with the archetype that we're going to go into today, and also the lover. So I'm a combination of the lover and the idealist. So for me to do it in community, to do it together, to do it where I see other people that role model something, or that come into their role modeling, for me and for my idealist, that gives me hope about the future of where we're going. And that's why for me to do things in community it's really nurturing for my lover heart. So that's the way, that I would say that this, where did this initiative come from? It came from there. And I feel too, with the practical, with Ashley, it's like this is not a group where there is 400 people or 2,200 people like in the deep dive. It's something much more intimate, where there is a possibility for sharing, where everybody that wants to share in a weekly call has the possibility to do it. So that's what makes me happy about it. And from there, I mean, should we jump right into the idealist, or where do you want to go, Ashley?
Yeah, and I just wanted to add to that. There's people who are going to be in the Venus stream with you as well, who've kind of been seasoned and been learning from us and hanging out with us for a long time now. We have our inner circle members. That's our monthly membership. They're going to be in the Venus sequence with you as well. And so if you feel like you're lost, if you feel like you need a mentor, or if you feel like you need somebody that can help you along the way, we're going to be doing a buddy system too. And you're going to be able to have somebody that you feel like, even though the group is this large or whatever, I have somebody that I can go to, that I can talk to, and have that mirroring and that feedback loop, because we want conscious communication and conscious mirroring. So whether you're experiencing that or not in your relationship, you know that you'll have somebody to talk to that is going through the same thing, because your partner doesn't have to go through the sequence with you. It would be cool if they did, but they don't have to. You shifting is enough for the whole relationship to shift. You hold space for the ideal of what's possible in your relationship, and it'll shift in the other. They don't have to consciously be aware of it, but you can decide to raise the frequency of your whole relationship. How many participants do you expect to have in the 4-month Venus sequence program? I believe there's I'm
We
hearing
don't know. Like the
I
true
think
question,
50.
we
I'm
don't
gonna say
know.
50. 50 people. So maybe we'll see.
And
Less
probably on
than
the
50.
calls, we might have 30 because you don't have to be on the calls. It's also teachings that you can watch the weekly calls after. But we'll see.
We
We'll
will
see how
see.
many people we have.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's just jump into the Idealist. Did you want to get started introducing this one, Bella, since you do have it put
Yeah,
on?
I did feel yesterday like we were done. It felt like the energy went up with the lover and then with the practical, and then it kind of, we spoke about where we're going next, and it felt like it's closed. So it's so interesting. Remember how we were saying the practical, the fifth line is the pinnacle of the hexagram. That's kind of where the human expression gets to, and that's where we are. And also when it comes to the chakras, like it feels like when we are at the fifth, we come to a point where this is how long we've come. The sixth archetype is already overlooking to the next hexagram. If we look at the I Ching, it's already overlooking to the next house, to the future, to what's coming. And in one way, it's like we can feel it a little bit aloof as an archetype, because it's already feeling into what's coming. And when it comes to chakras, you remember the creator was the earth chakra, the dancer was the water element, and the root chakra. We had the dynamo, it's fire element, and it was the solar plexus chakra. The lover was the heart chakra, it was air. And then yesterday already went a little bit strange. We had a practical, and here it was ether, which is not really an element. And we were speaking about the voice and the throat chakra. So now we come to an element that we call spirit. So it's not even really a tangible thing in the body, and it's not even something that we can measure. So what fuels this archetype is the future, the vision about the future, and the element that comes up through all the chakras, because it kind of goes through all the lines, like Ashley was saying, is the spirit element. So to be on this earth today, kind of fueled by spirit and interested about the future, it is a quite different archetype from all the other archetypes that we've been through. Mm-hmm. And we do have quite a lot of profiles in Human Design and Gene Keys that have this included. The thing that what you've seen also is that nobody can have, no profile has two of the same. So nobody's a 6-6, because that would probably be extremely difficult. So really, it's always a combination. So when this archetype is in a human being, it's going to be paired with another archetype too, and it's going to be more kind of the soul that has it, or more the personality. The same thing we were seeing yesterday. So that's kind of my introduction to kind of coming to the also realization that this is not like the other archetypes somehow, and not to put it on a pedestal or anything, but just see that it's different in its flavor, it's different in its energy, and it's a little bit not beyond in a judgmental sense, but in a sense that also can make it feel like it came to the wrong planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it is attuned to the future, and it is here to manifest and bring that future here. And so a lot of, if you have this archetype in your mind, or you have this archetype in your relationship, like in your attraction, it just depends on where you have it in. That's where you're going to be kind of fixated in the future and bringing it down here. And so it may not be widely accepted, but it's where we're moving towards. So you're here to connect into that, because you're the person that is bringing this evolutionary process forward. Right? So that's why the fifth line is the pinnacle of right now. It's like the now, it's the leader of the now. But then the sixth archetype is leading towards the future. So, and even the fifth archetype is here to point you towards the role models. Because if the fifth archetype is the leader, if the fifth archetype is the practical to say, like, yes, I'm going to universalize and distill all of this information and bring it to you in a practical way so it's easy to use, and that we can all do it, let's lead it that way. It's going to also say, but then here's where we're going, and look at that person. And they'll be able to recognize the role models too, because the role models aren't going to be, if you are the one in the relationship to say, I know more than you, I'm better than you, and have that arrogance about you, nobody's going to listen to you either. It's your doing, not your teaching. You're not here to teach people and say, this is how you do it, and let's be like this. That would come into arrogance. It's just be you, and be naturally that role model, and people will take notice of you. But if you say, I am the role model, I am the teacher, listen to me, everyone's going to not feel like they can trust you. And that's one of the things about the sixth archetype too, is it's about trust as well, like the fourth, right? We're wanting to trust them, but they need to be in their naturalness as well.
And also speaking about leadership, so we would see that the practical has this urge to speak its truth somehow. And it can be feel like, oh God, I'm going to be burned at stake. When we come to the next archetype, the idealist, we're not going to see somebody often that is actually going to speak its truth. It's more going to be somebody who doesn't really care about having followers, and who can, it's more, a little bit more about that withdrawn judgment that is not even spoken out. So you don't, the only thing you feel is like, it's not really there. It's aloof. It's somewhere else, because it's, the arrogance makes it not even want to kind of like, you know, dip its toe in the water of humanity. You know, it's that. So when we can also see it as a house. So this is the archetype that will sit on the top of the house and look for what's coming next. Whereas we have the lover and the practical, they are on the second floor, and they are kind of like, they are engaging with the world, with other archetypes. They have people coming to them or seeing them and judging them. But here we have somebody that's on the roof, and that's probably the biggest, also the unhealthy, the shadow is that judgment. But it's very often not even a pronounced judgment. It's an inner thing, and a part of it is like a resignation. It's saying, it's looking at all the other archetypes, and they're like, oh, but all you guys, like creator, dancer, and dynamo, you're just about yourself. Like there's nothing, like it's all about you. And then it looks at the lover, and it's like, I mean, you're like, it's too much flooding of the heart here, almost like it's so emotional. And then it look at the fifth, and it's like, okay, that's your truth, but what about the truth? So it's like, there's really kind of a tension between the practical and the idealist, because idealist says like, it's the truth, it's the universal truth. It's like, that is the values that we are living with. So when you are wanting to speak your truth in your heart, your throat chakra, what about the real reality? So it can be, there is a kind of transfer when it comes to leadership between the fifth line and the sixth line, I feel. And like you were saying yesterday, Ashley, if the fifth line can set the stage for some of the role models to show the way forward, that's probably the best collaboration. And that's what I would say also in relationship. It's like, there is something beautiful for me to, I mean, I love the transpersonal lines in that sense, because I can see that they are building, saving, like there's just some feeling of doing it together that I love, which I also when I look at the archetypes that are in the lower trireme, I get jealous, and I'm like, I wish that I had more of that. I wish that I could just be more focused on what's my own empowerment. So like that's what we were saying too. It's not better with being personal or transpersonal. It's different, and we need all.
Yeah, we need all of them. And I almost feel in the energy, because every time we start to talk about this, I can feel into the energy of what this archetype is about, and really getting into the sixth energy. It feels like this archetype is an overlooker, and it sees everything. And so we're not just staying in the realm of relationships. We've been talking about leadership. It's almost like, I can see everything. Why would I stay in the realm of relationship? It's not just about relationships. So it's like looking down at things. And it's kind of picky too. That's why it stays aloof, because it's on the roof saying, I'm not getting involved in that, and I'm not getting involved in that. It's selective about what it's going to identify with and what it's going to share. And so that's why it can stay aloof. And that's how you'll experience them in relationships too, is they'll be like off somewhere else. You'll be like, where'd you go? Are you here? You know, and it's, well, I'm just in this observing place, you know? And if you have this archetype as like part of your emotions, you're going to be able to quickly and easily judge the emotions and then not necessarily want to be in it. So the most important thing about being an idealist, about being this archetype, is to get in your body. It's so easy to come out of your body to get that bird's eye view, but it's way more important to be here, because again, they can access the future. They're looking at things from above. They're taking us forward. And it's so important to get back into the body. So that's what I would say. And I'm also noticing a lot of people on here are saying that they have the sixth line in their attraction. And actually me and Bella have the sixth line in our attraction too, which is Like, what kind of relationships are you attracting into your life? And how are you going to experience that in your relationships? What would you say about the sixth line in the attraction field?
Yeah, I would rewind it just a little bit and say kind of like the challenge here is compromise. So that would be in a relationship where you're not really looking in the same direction, where you don't feel like the other person has that same perspective as you have, but kind of feeling like there's so few people like you, so just you settle. And then you feel like, is the world really going to evolve? Not even my partner sees my truth. How can I trust this? So that would be the challenge here. And what happens when it's stuck there, it's like it feels a bit of that resignation and that compromise. So we need it to be in relationship with people that can nurture that vision, that can be there. And it's not about seeing exactly the same thing. It's more like what Ashley's saying, this overlooking, is being able to zoom out, and also zoom out to even see where we are going, that directionality, that evolution that is happening with the species. So that's the first thing. If that's not there, I mean, you can, anything that has to do with merging is not really going to feel natural. It's not really going to feel worth it. So when we go into the sexuality part, we have the keyword of disappointment, because these are beings that come in and that are so anchored in spirit somehow that they already know that it's possible, that through sexuality, it's possible to co-create with spirit, to co-create with God, to co-create with the other person. So when they come in and they kind of forgot about, everything that the soul has experienced, they are often going to have experiences where there is this disappointment. It's not going to live up to that inner knowing of what true merging between two beings can be. And that's where it can resign to, and it can become cold, and it can even, like Ashley say, kind of go out from the body and up in spirit. But the thing is, when you go up in spirit, you're actually portraying, you could say, the depth of the soul. So we have spirit, which is kind of more a masculine aspect in one sense, and then the depth of the soul would be more Gaia, like our womb wisdom, you could say. So here we have an archetype that, in order to be able to walk into the future, needs to have both aspects of feminine and masculine, what we have said all this week, together. And to go back to sexuality even more, I think we mentioned this too, what this archetype is feeling is that it's not feeling, it's knowing that we have an animalistic nature that resides in our lower chakras, in our kundalini. And then we have a human heart, and it's all about that flooding of the heart. And then we have a mind that is super, super powerful and that can create reality. So it says we are animal, we're human, we're creator. And if I'm gonna come down from spirit and embody this, I want to be able to meet you, to mirror you, to merge with you in all these parts. And if you are just concentrating with one, then it's either going to be disappointment or there's going to be judgment. Like you are just doing this like a Duracell like rabbit. Like, what is this? I want more, Or if it's just spirit, it's probably going to say, if you have a healthy sixth line, it's going to say, if it's just spirit or white tantra, it's going to say, what about the body? What about the feeling? What about like also the suffering of like longing for you? So the true fifth line is going to feel all the lines. And you remember all the strings of the guitar we said with the sensuality of fifth line? Well, here we really have all the colors of the rainbow, like the whole spectrum, and also the nuances. So here we have spirit is nuance, and spirit can penetrate everything. So there is something here where, these are the explorers, I would say, in the realm of intimacy, that can really go in and understand what's possible. And also I would say that are the closest to the rave children that come in now probably it's predicted to in less than 7 years, but the children that are start to come in, they are going to have an inner sense of intimacy. They are not going to need the friction of skin to skin. They are going to be able to feel intimacy without physical. And the sixth one is probably the closest to that. But what I always say, in the phase where we are today, we're living in a physical body. We want to nurture this body. We don't absolutely want to just be in spirit. So the role models of the idealist can show what does it look like in relationship to be animal, human, and creator, all in one, all integrated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the sixth line is so very sensitive. And like Bella was saying about the theme of disappointment, especially in terms of sexuality. If you feel like you're a 6-line sexuality, like you want more, you have this idea of it being different, of including mind, body, soul, emotion, energy. It's like you want intimacy on all levels, and maybe you're with a dancer or a creator and they're just really selfish in the bedroom, and you're like, well, there can be so much more merging. So I would say too, to know what kind of lover your partner is. If you are a 6-line, a sixth archetype, right? The idealist, you know what it's like. Like you have an idea of where the future of relationships are going, and you know there's so much more there. But maybe you've been so disappointed by the partners, and you're like, how come I'm not experiencing this here? Maybe I'm too picky. Maybe I'm too high maintenance. Maybe I want more than I need to want. And then they start to just be so hyper focused on the other person's needs because they feel like their needs are just too much because they've never really had that. And it's really important for them to start to uncover what it is they want. So how do you need to nurture yourself? And even still, like if you are a 6-line, a sixth archetype, the idealist, and it's in your sexuality, in your attraction sphere, in your sexuality, odds are, if you're not exploring this realm of sexuality and coming into that and discovering what it is you want or like, you're probably going to leave your body, and you're probably going to be numb, and you're probably going to just like, I don't really need to have sex. I don't really need that. And your partner, what is wrong with you? I mean, I'm a 6-line sexuality, and this is what I experience. I'm like not hardly in my body because I know there's so much more. And this is the realm that I'm experimenting with and exploring. I'm a 5th line. The 5th line is supposed to be sensual and alluring and mysterious. And it uses that power. It uses that sexuality to bring that power. But if I'm not connected in and tuned to my sexuality, my sensuality, my power, then I'm not expressing myself completely. I'm highly creative. I'm a highly creative person. But to think that as a 6-line, as a 6th archetype, the idealist, I know that there's something more in relationships. And as soon as that unlocks for me, and as soon as that happens, I know that my power will be way more amplified. I know that I'm not completely in the extent of my power right now because there's part of me that's fragmented. And so that's constantly what I'm looking at, working on. And every time we go into the Venus stream, I'm like, okay, what next? What more? And sometimes it's so hard as a 6th archetype, an idealist, to actually be able to articulate and know, what is that dream? What do you want? And being able to articulate that to somebody else, be like, I don't know, I just know it's not this. And by collecting your evidence and saying this and not this and this, your dream starts to unfold to you. But you don't know it all from the get-go. That's why the 6th archetype, it takes time. You have to give yourself patience and space. So wherever you have the 6th archetype within your blueprint, you need space, you need time, you need patience. People around you have to be patient with you. Whether if you have it in your SQ, it's going to take time and space for you to open your heart. If you have it in attraction, it's going to take time and space for you to discover what it is to have true intimacy, true merging, true union, and what that future relationship is like. You're going to get tastes of it, and you're going to be like, whoa, more is possible. Whoa, I'm not expecting too much. So it's really important for you to give yourself time and space, and also just surrender. That's one of the keynotes of the higher expression. Surrender and step into the role of the visionary. Now the visionary is going to get parts and pieces of the vision. And once it has the whole complete vision, that's where it says, I'm not compromising. But it's so much easier to compromise when you don't know what the whole vision is. And somebody else may have a clearer vision of what they want. And you're like, well, you know what you want, and I don't really know what I want. So let's just do what you want because I can't even articulate what I want. What do you feel like for dinner? I don't even know. Well, I want this. Okay, we'll just go with that because you know what you want and I don't. So that's kind of what happens in the relationship.
Yeah, and that vision is never stagnant because the future is always evolving. So even knowing that when you think you know your vision, it's going to keep evolving. And that's why you want to be with somebody who also can be in that evolving of the vision of what's coming. And also this is the only archetype that has 3 distinct phases of their lives. So that's kind of the most paradoxical here is probably the sexuality, because the first 30 years, so up until the Saturn return, so 28, 29 years, it's going to be about trial and error. It's going to look a lot like the dynamo. So here we have a highly sensitive being, like Ashley was saying, that is all about spirit, that is using the element of fire to burn itself down. Like I often speak about it as a kitten that you put in a tumble dryer and you make it go around for 28 years. And then it finally stops and you have the kiste coming out, and it's like, you know, and it's like looks at his paws, and it's like it's completely, you know, and then it goes up on the roof and it sits there, and you know, it doesn't know if it want to dip its paw back into the world again, because it wasn't fun for 28 years. And that's the feeling of many idealists. They feel like, I'm not done for this. After 20 years, 25 years, it's like, I know I'm not done for this. I'm not done for this tumble dryer. And so the next period is the period of discernment. And that's a very important word. And it goes together with what Ashley was saying about being picky. Like you actually, when you have been in a tumble dryer, you go up on the roof and you start to be discerning. So for example, if you're a combination of the lover and the idealist, there's a lot about broken trust in the first period. So you're going to learn who you can trust and who you cannot trust. You're not going to just burn because that's your nature anymore. You're going to stay back, and it can look like you're still kind of in it, but there is a part of you that is a little bit withdrawn, that is a little bit discerning. And here there's a fine line, of course, between discerning and judging. It's not about judging. It is about deciding where you put your energy. And then after 50 is when we say that this archetype come down and becomes the role model. And it's not because it's absolutely not like it has decided to speak its truth and it's decided to, like, it doesn't matter if I'm burned at stake. It doesn't look anything like that. It looks like, okay, I'm ready to live my life purpose. And it's not about the other. It's about the purpose. It's not even about itself because it's so transpersonal, but it is about fueling that purpose that is directed towards the future. And that's probably the first time that the archetype really feels grounded in this plane, in itself, in all the chakras. It can't take that long. And that's why Ashley's saying patience, space, you know, you need these things, because we're not going into the future in a snap of fingers. It's going to be a path, and a diligent path, with discernment, with a lot of trial and error that creates wisdom. Wisdom is an important word here. And that's why sometimes this archetype judge the practical leader, for example. It's like, well, I went through so much, so I can say it with you know, from a place of wisdom. You just say it because you have this urge of what truth and, you know, what people need to do. But I have been, you know, there's a different flavor to the leadership that we find in these two archetypes.
Yeah, because it doesn't stay the dynamo archetype for its whole life. It goes in the tumble dryer, like she says. And if it's a kitten in the tumble dryer and it just is all discombobulated, it's like, I don't know what to do here. And then, but it's grown. It's not a kitten anymore. It comes out of the tumble dryer as like a lion. And it's like, I'm ready for this. And it's like in its prime. What if it's in its sexual prime? It's like, I'm ready for this. You know, it's like, I'm ready, world. Here we go. I know what I like. I know what I don't like. And I'm not settling for any less. And I think it's so cool to be able to see these archetypes in the different parts of your blueprint as well, because they have different flavors everywhere and they're going to come up and show up different ways. And it's also, it's so important. I don't think we didn't talk about sexuality a lot throughout this whole thing. We mentioned it a bit, but for you to know what your partner is so important. Like if you're a creator archetype and that's in your sexuality, how is that going to show up? And a dynamo and all this. I mean, Bella, did you want to do something like super brief, like maybe how they'd show up in the bedroom? Like with all the different archetypes? I don't know. Spontaneously, I'm like, this is a cool place to go into. Because sex and relationships are so important. It's important to have intimacy at all levels. But again, if you don't feel safe in your relationship, you're not going to be vulnerable, and then you're not going to have intimacy. So if you feel betrayed, disappointed, whatever, by your partner because of the expectations you placed on them or whatever, you're never going to get to that level of intimacy where you are experiencing that in the bedroom.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we can absolutely. So the first one, we have earth chakra, we have our earth element, we have root chakra, and it's really about the same thing with the creator. It's like, if I'm better off on my own, I wouldn't be with you. So it's like a very kind of basic sense of like, yeah, it's nicer to actually sleep with you tonight than to sleep alone. It's not so complicated, and it's many times it's not so spiritual, but it's like, it's that natural kind of earth element. We're human beings, we are in a body, let's enjoy it together. So it's not so complex, and it's often beautiful, and it can be a very fertile ground, and there's not so much there, like it's not so much mental, it's not so much emotion, it's just this nice kind of empowerment together, like we were saying. And then we have the second archetype. I mean, and here also it could be cold. It could be just be, no, I have no interest. Like, I just want to sleep on my own, you know? And then we have the dancer. Here we have the water chakra. We have the sacral chakra. So here a lot of desire, a lot of just wanting to merge, a lot of fluids. Like here we have the king and the queen of body fluids. The more, the better, you know, the wetter, the better. And it's really about that lust. But here we can see, like, if the heart is not there, it's just lust. And it's just like we were saying, it's just like devouring whatever it is, but it's not feeling that the heart is there. So passion is when we bring in the heart, when we do it, and it's a win-win. It's a mirroring. My passion, your passion becomes a synergy of passion. So that's important, to not just like have it, not just let the hunger lead. And then we have the third archetype. And here we have fire, and we have the solar plexus. So here we have desire too. And it's a desire a little bit more like, I want you, that kind of desire. The other one doesn't even think. It's like the kind of just animalistic hunger. Here it's like, I want you. I am in for the adventure. I'm going to chase you. I'm going to chase you till I have you. And it's sometimes a little bit like the cat that chased the mouse, and then the mouse is there. It kind of like, the dynamo can be more interested about the chase than actually the thing. Sometimes it just want a place to get there, and then it's kind of, the mouse is not as fun anymore.
Yeah, if you've ever been in a relationship like that, where it's like he pursues or she pursues, and then she gets you and she's like, nah, I'm bored with you now, bye. I liked you better when you were playing hard to get, and now that I have you, I'm like, yeah, no.
Yeah, that's this archetype a lot. That's why you want to keep it playful. So here we have an archetype that is that needs a little bit of change, a little bit of kink, a little bit of this or that. Like it needs change and variety. So if you don't find it inside a relationship, it can turn and become promiscuity. Okay, I can't get it with you, I go and find it somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So here, that's the two sides of the dynamo. And then we were speaking about the lover. So the lover is all about trust and all about romance. And here, when it comes to, I mean, that's really how it looks. It kind of probably does look like not really a romantic comedy, because that's more the sensuality of the practical, but it's something that looks it looks very wholesome. It looks very loving. What we say when it comes to sex is like friends first. Friends first doesn't mean that you need to know the person, but even if it's it's probably not a one night stand, but even if it's like you meet and it's sex quite soon into the relationship, the person who has the lover archetype is going to say, yeah, I can feel that this could be my friend. So it's a discerning archetype, and it feels with the heart. So it's going to know quite soon, this could be my friend. It's not going to be something that, it's not going to tell you, oh, I just wanted to divorce something. Like, no, it's like, I met this person and it felt like it was at the heart level, I felt like we had met before. And it was like, that's the feeling of it. So it's the romantic, and it's going to kind of be that dreamer about what it can look like in relationship. And
it seems like that it would have a lot of like opportunities and partners for like it can choose who it wants to be with, but it chooses like this one person because there's that heart connection. But if it's like, it has
and that's a problem. That's a problem with it, because so many people think, because there is this kindness, there is this friendship, that there is a sexual interest. So that's a big problem for the lover, because so many people take these cues that it's just that for them, it's just like they're in their heart. But like, so many women, like so many times for women, like, oh, but you like, we don't, there is this problem in society where we think if a woman is nice, she is opening a door for something with you. And a lot of like beautiful women are bitches, that's what we think. But that's like a misunderstanding. And that's something that can happen a lot in the lover archetype. And what I feel with the lover archetype is that it doesn't get in trouble often until it is in a relationship that is a long-term relationship. Because the coldness when you're not even in a relationship yet, like, or in the beginning, doesn't really matter. Like, it's really when it is in a relationship and it doesn't feel the heart space with the other, then it gets cold. But it's going to be kind of gradual sometimes. So like we said, you're not even going to understand that it's happening, but it closes the heart a little bit more, or it feels met a little bit less. And then suddenly you can feel like there is this coldness that it doesn't want to merge anymore. And it's a kind of silent goodbye. It's kind of really sad.
Aww. I mean, and even it's a little bit harder too when you're in like a partnership where you're married, and you get to that point where normally maybe you'd be like, well, it's time to break up, but they might stay in the marriage a very long time and be super cold, super frigid, super like, nope, 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 not open to that, nope. And then there's a kind of meanness to it too, because it's like,
yeah, and somehow they are friends, but like that aspect died, and then it's like it's also hard for the fourth line because the lover has such a difficulty cutting. So it's like, yeah, it's sometimes really, it's detrimental both for the person and the partner. So don't let that happen. Like, help the lover to cut. Like, this isn't like really a good advice. If the lover can't cut, help them to cut, because it's not nurturing anybody to be in a marriage that's dead, although there is some kind of friendship or, you know, teamwork. And then yeah. Did you want to say something about that, Ashley?
No, you're on a roll. Go ahead and wrap up the sexuality of the archetype.
Yeah, so here now we have the guitar player here. All the strings of the guitar, really sensual. Here we say often the romantic comedy, kind of like, you know, meet somewhere and have been a couple of dates and then like go home and like rip off the clothes, and like the way it looks kind of in those comedies, and you know, and it has that. It has I mean, it is the leader in many senses, and it has sensuality. It can play with all the other lines. The problem is that it's centered. It comes from the mind many times, so it's going to live out the fantasy of what it's going to do on that dinner, and then afterwards taking the partner home. You know, so it can stay a little bit in the mind and not come down completely in the body. So that would be like the problems here could be like too much mental, like having to speak, having to watch porn, having to use like some things in order to stimulate the mind for the body to work. That could be the problem here. And really also kind of needing some kind of role play that could go into like playing with respect, disrespect, or like entrapment, manipulation, and even like it's almost like the third archetype, the dynamo. It kind of is the cat and the rat, and it likes to have that chase. But the chase is like cat and rat, like it's kind of like basic in a way. With the fifth archetype, it can really kind of be complex and like even, I mean, a little bit scary sometimes, the things that they go into in the story, like the complex things that the sexuality can go into. So I mean, I think
what's the positive of the practical in sexuality? Because I'm kind of scared of the practical in sexuality.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's scary. It's the scariest of them all. That's what I can. But the sensuality.
Be careful of your manipulation, because you have power in your sexuality.
They are highly attractive beings. Like, I've sometimes found myself in situations and being like kind of asking myself, how did this end in sex? Like, what happened? Like, there is something that just takes you there, and it's subtle but it's like, then you're like, every step on the way, whether it was conscious or unconscious, from the practical, it was laid out, and you think about it and you're like, I went right into, it's like, it's not the cat that goes and it's chased. It's like the cheese is in the wrap thing, and you go right in.
You're like, oh no, how did I get here? Oh my gosh, yes, totally.
But it can also be like, you know, when you feel like you're filled in your root center, like in your lower chakras, you're completely filled up by an experience, because like we were saying, it's playing all the strings. So it's like really where you can fall right into it, and it can be amazing. It can, like, if you can fuel that all the time and play all the strings, I mean, I think that's a relationship that never gets boring. And also being able to use that fantasy. Okay, what can I do now? Like, you know, what can I do now so that, how can I set this up so for this amazing experience? That's what they are doing. They are like inexhaustible in their mind and in their creativity of what it can be and what we can experience together.
Well, that spins in a kind of positive way, so that's good. I love how we're in the sixth archetype with the idealist, and we're doing an overview, because the idealist would be the one to be able to say, here's this about this and this about that person, because it's able to look at all the archetypes and see, okay, here's all of them laid out, and then here's who I want to play with, and here's who I kind of won't want to give my time or space to, you know?
Yeah, and this goes into something super important, Ashley. I'm so happy you got there. This is the mind. So the mind of the idealist is the only objective mind. It's the only mind that can like look and kind of have an objective view of all the archetypes. And that's why it's so impossible to win with it. Like this is like, it can have conversations and conflicts where it never kind of, the voice doesn't change, and it has this objectivity, and it can even like look at emotions like with disdain, or like it can look at everything that isn't objectivity as less than. And it can use words that are same tone. Here, it's not the practical, it's not about the vibration of the tone. You can use a completely calm thing, and really here it's like, it's cut your throat. It's like you can't win. Like there is the feeling like you can't win, because they know it. And they're not even like trying to overvoice you. They're not even trying to put the knife and like do it around in you. They just say kind of like the truth. And even if you know that your truth is different, they have a way of making their truth sounding objective and logical. So you can't win. So it can really lead to this thing that it's not even worth it. And when you are with an idealist, you can kind of sometimes, give up, because you there's no way. Or it can also be, I guess, sometimes to be like, okay, it's their truth, their direction. Even if I don't really see it, I'll just kind of tag along on their direction. And often maybe it is the right direction, but that's the sad feeling for the emotions are that they want to feel heard. And sometimes when we have, I mean, now I'm speaking about the unhealthy way. In the unhealthy way, the idealist cannot come with you on the journey of the emotions, or the journey of the like the anger, for example. So but when we have this archetype being in their body, they can have empathy for all the different expressions, and they can be there, and they can be amazing space holders, because they are not afraid. They know, like other archetypes can be afraid when they have their partner going into rage, or going into tantrum, or what it is, or going into depression. But there is something with this archetype that is like, that knows that nothing is going to be forever. Like the future is always going to evolve. So it can hold space. It can be there and like really beautiful for a long, because it can give patience. So even like I've seen relationship where one person was in depression for years and years, and we had the idealist who was there, and the idealist, like the ideal of like, we're gonna get forward, we're gonna find a solution. If it's not like medication, we're gonna find something else, and being there. And I don't know many other archetypes that would be able to be so transpersonal and like give away years of their own life, and probably ideal about a happy marriage by just trying to help another person to be okay, at least be not suicidal. So there is something here, that there's a staying power here, and really a vision of something better, even when things are really, really bad.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, as an idealist archetype, if you have it any place in your blueprint, you're going to want to be able to come into that place of surrender, patience, and space for yourself and for the other. Because, for example, say that you're an idealist and your partner's a creator. That's a huge, huge gap, right? We have the 1 and the 6, big space. So the 6 is overlooking things. So what we can see here is say that we have the creator, and it's a creator in the realm of emotions, and the creator is in the thick of it. They're investigating emotions. They're feeling the emotions. They're sabotaging themselves in the emotions. What the idealist is going to see is it's going to look down and be like, wow, you're really like drowning yourself in like 2 feet of water. If you stand up, you're okay. But the creator's like, oh my God, this is like so horrible. Help me, save me. Like, I can't empower myself. And it's like, the idealist is going to be like, I am not going in there with you. That does not look like fun. And if it like turns its shoulder to it and be like, I'm not even like, it doesn't want to hold space. It looks as emotions as lesser. To me, no, I'm not going there. That's not even fun. So it's not even going to engage anyways. But if you are a true idealist, you are going to be the one to be the role model, to also hold space for them to empower themselves. It's not like you're going to put out their fires or drain the water. It's that if you do this, maybe this will work, because you were a dynamo at some point, and maybe you did experience something where you can give this advice to them, right? If you just stand up, it'll be okay. But you have to come into this space of compassion. Mm-hmm. That's where you need to be for humanity, because if you're not in the space of compassion, you're going to be like, man, I was born at the wrong time on the wrong planet, and I just want to be in the future. Why the hell am I here with all these people that don't know how to swim? I know how to swim. I don't understand it. And so it's really important for the idealist to have compassion, because it can feel this angst in their body that says, we're not there yet. I'm in the future and we're not there yet, you know? And so you need to hold space and compassion for people, not only yourself, for the other people that you're in a relationship with, because also they are at different frequencies and levels than you are. It's not hierarchical. It's just, oh, I choose to be here. I choose to be in the creator role. And I want to investigate emotions. I want to investigate the mind. And kind of with the idealist, if the idealist has it as an idealist in the realm of the mind, of the IQ, of the values, it's going to constantly transcend. It's not going to hold on to these values or ideas. It's going to keep transcending to get to the pinnacle of what the truth is, of where we're going in the future. Where some people get stuck and so fixed on what they believe and where they're at, that the idealist is like, but there's like another step above. Just open your mind, just expand, and just, you can get there. But people get so fixed, and the idealist, you can get frustrated, and then you can just get disappointed, and then just resign and be like, well, I can't convince them. And it's not even the idealist's place to convince. It doesn't even want to convince. It's not there. It's just like, it can see it, and it knows where people are at. So that can be a little bit disheartening for the idealist.
Yeah, and that's the dream. Like that's how we go into the future. We can't let go of the dream. If we let go of the dream that we can be free, you know, right now in the time of like constrictions and masks and this and that, like if we believe that story that we are constricted and that we can't be free, do you think there is a future? No, there is no future. We are powerful creators. So it's the dream that has to be nurtured. The dream is the ticket into the future. And that's what the idealist is role modeling for us. We need that dream. Otherwise, we're going to be resigned, and there's not even going to be a future, or not a future worth living, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's really on you too to investigate, what is your dream of the future? Where do you want to go? What are you wanting to manifest in the realm of your relationships? We're in a really potent time right now. It's Lionsgate 8-8. Possibilities are endless for you here. You just have to decide kind of what you're going to put down and not carry with you, and what you're going to manifest and bring forward. So in the realm of relationships, what are you tired of? What's not working? Let's put that down and decide, I'm only going to align to my dream. I'm only going to align to this infinite possibility. There's pure potentiality in your relationships. So dream it and start to manifest it. So the idealist is here to be able to bring that here. But if we have all these idealists letting their dreams go and compromising, then we're never going to get towards that sacred union, that divine union, the possibility for true merging and true mirroring in relationships. But again, it takes all of the other archetypes to get to that pinnacle where then you're like looking at what's next. And so we introduced all of these so you can see, okay, how am I creator? How am I the dancer? How am I all of these different archetypes? And then everybody has a dream inside of them. It doesn't matter if you have the sixth line in you or not. The idealist is in all of us. We all have a dream for something bigger, better, and an ideal that needs to be birthed. Like, we have so many different dreams just floating around in this. When are you going to take the chance to manifest it? It's a fantasy until you start to manifest it. Why do you feel like you can't have your fantasy? You can have it. Let's start to manifest it. So it's really getting clear about what it is that you want. And if you don't know, then what you're manifesting is a clear vision of what that is. So if you can't connect to what does this ideal relationship look like for me? You don't know what it is, then that's what you're manifesting. I'm going to get very clear on what this is, and I'm not going to compromise. And I'm going to surrender to whatever it takes to get me there. So it's going to be really important for everyone.
And I also wanted to just mention one more thing that I feel like we need to say about the idealist. Here we have sensitivity in the endocrine system. So here, if somebody is very attuned to radiation, to like everything that's out there, like chemicals, and it's the glandular system. The glandular system is really the fine tuning of the body with hormones. Everything is working, right? Like there's so many things that are connected to that. So in all the glands is really, so here we have a sensitive being, and that is probably also going to be able to tell more than anything, okay, is the 5G good or not? Like, because the body is a thermometer of what's good for us and not, and the body discerns what do we bring with us to the future, what is not so good. And so this is really, start to see that if you're a 6-line being, and especially if it's the second number in your profile, start to thank your body for being such an amazing thermometer, and even more than a thermometer, because it's going to say much more than high or low. It's going to really tell you in detail, if you listen, you know, what it's going to discern for you what works and what doesn't work. And it's going to be able to help the world understand what helps, what is good and what's not good for the physical body, for this vehicle. That is also, the DNA is mutating. So both what we are needing in all levels. What's going to nurture us is it's going to change. It's going to shift as our DNA shifts. And the most objective archetype that can kind of see this and feel this and put probably words in this are the beings that have the 6 line as the second number of the profile, that has it in the body. And it's almost like it translates through spirit. That's the way. So it has to be open-minded. Otherwise it can probably just be like, oh, why is my body so sensitive? Why do I have something they call autoimmune disease? No, it's not your body attacking itself. There is a message there. So listen to the message and nurture the body in a way that the body wants to be nurtured. This is the message from the 6 line body.
Yeah, no, nurture is such a huge keynote and important thing to remember about the 6 line is when you feel that disappointment of it's not here yet, I can't have that ideal, or whatever it is, I'm so sensitive. What do you need to nurture yourself now? How can you nurture yourself? Getting back into like, what do you need now? Because it's almost like you're sacrificing something by bringing yourself here. Being the body of the future, being the sexuality of the future, being the heart of the future, being the mind of the future, being the emotions of the future. Like this is where we're going, and it can get really hard. Oh, here comes it's party time at my house. The music just came on. Did you want to go through any of the questions before we kind of conclude?
Maybe look through them. Yeah, let's see if maybe not all of them, but let's go through them.
Okay, sorry. Music was so loud here. Did you see any of the questions, Bella? I see Robin was saying what's Lionsgate. I'm just going to say really quickly, Lionsgate is kind of a portal that is giving us energy to manifest at a quicker rate. It's almost like a door is open, a portal is open for you to manifest that which you desire. And so everything is kind of amplified and on high right now. So you have a lot of manifestation available to you. So again, leave behind what's not serving you, because if you do bring something forward, it's going to manifest really quickly. So then also you can decide, do I want this? Do I not want this? You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just looking through. I mean, a lot of the things I'm excited because we're going to be able to go into them like in depth in the Venus and really understand, like it's going to be each sphere we're going to see, and we're going to be able to see what's the interplay of the different spheres in your profiles. Let's see. And I see, yeah, the 6-2, Robin, you're saying, yeah, less judgment. It's a really good one. And yeah, I mean, Oscar, I think you're going to be with us, but really, if you're a 6-2 profile with a lot of 5th lines, it's going to be this combination. So we're going to see, what does that mean? What does that mean to have so much of leadership and at the same time be a visionary, and at the same time being somebody that's really all about merging? You know, it's so beautiful that we have all these inside of us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
looking at Facebook too. So we talked about
Lionsgate. Saying, I've been doing the Venus sequence on my own and planning to do it in October. Yeah, I mean, there, like we were saying, there is no conflict doing it with us and doing it with Richard. Like the more ways you're doing it, I feel with Richard is really a possibility for contemplation. The way that the way that the calls is set up when you're doing it in the Jinky way. I'm a Jinky ambassador, so it's like I kind of know it in my sleep. It's really a lot about the talking stick, the same thing we use in the Delta. So you speak and you give the talking stick to somebody else. And it's a beautiful like silence in that, because you can share and you don't have like feedback or people telling you what to do or advising you, you know. So there's something beautiful with that, but it's really fostering this art of contemplation. So the way we do it is a little bit more like, you see, Ash and I have a lot of energy, a lot of creativity. So it's a little bit of a different flavor. For me, they completely go hand in hand. And for me, if you have the Venus the Venus books, it's going to be easier to follow along with what we are doing. So really, for me, it's not an either or. You can completely start with us now in August and jump on the other one. Richard's way of doing it, his energy in your life, I feel, is always going to open more doors. So never shut the door for that. if you feel like you're nurtured from that. Richard is a 4-6. He has the lover energy and the visionary energy, and that's something we can feel in him. So he's taking us into the future, and he's probably the person who most has opened the door for me and Ashley to be able to do these journeys and be role models in our own life for how this can look, how it can look when the transmission come in through one of us and how it wants to express itself. It's not going to be, we're not little copies of Richard or Ra. We are going to do it in our own unique flavor. And that's really our passion, to open up for your unique flavor, whatever it's looking like. For me, that's the most exciting thing that is, when I see that opening up and that we're not just a gray mass of the same.
Mm-hmm. No, we're not here to be like putting each other and ourselves and our relationships or other people into a mold. It's about stepping into where we're moving. Like, can you attune yourself to where we're going? And it's almost like alignment is so important. And that's kind of why we're going through these sequences and going into we did the activation sequence. We're in the Venus Immersion now. The whole purpose of all this is to come into alignment and unity within yourself. You're here to find wholeness. And when you have that wholeness, that's where you show up in your power, in that role model essence, or whatever it is. You're aligned, and so you are aligned in whatever you're manifesting, and you are manifesting a better future. So we would want more people aligned and empowered and independent and being outside of the mold. We don't need all these people learning the same modalities, taking the same courses. Like, we're not trying to shove things down people's throats. And it's really about what resonates with you. Mm-hmm. What makes, like, it's kind of like you have like locks, right? And you're like, what's the code for this? Some people are going to resonate over here, and that's going to get them down into the heart. The whole purpose is to get from your head to your heart. And whatever it is, however you need to hear it, you're going to be pulled and drawn to the people who are able to speak that to you, so you can make the decision to come into your heart and say, oh my God, it's worth it to be human. That's like the whole purpose. Is it worth it to be human? And once you decide it's worth it to be human, then you decide it's worth it to be in relationships. Then you decide it's worth it to have more experiences. Then you decide it's worth it to share my heart. It's worth it to speak my truth. Then it's worth it to bring ourselves into this vision of the future. Like, let's move forward. I'm not trying to be somewhere that I'm not. I'm here now being where I need to be and where I feel empowered in myself. But I still am holding true to where I know that we can go and what's possible. But you gotta almost have to say, I deserve this. This is for me. So,
I mean,
anyway.
I'm sitting here with Idealist, like, I can't wait until we go into the Pearl with the same group. Like, I can't help it.
So if this resonates with you, and if you enjoyed this, again, if you enjoyed this and you think somebody else would resonate, and maybe, oh, you're an idealist, I want to share this with you. And again, remember, we looked at the profiles. What are the lines? Are you in line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Here's the names of these lines. And if you're wanting to say, what's next? Where are we going? We're going into the Venus Immersion, into the Venus stream. If you want to come with us, we would love it. Especially Bella. Bella's a 4-6. She's like, community, let's do this, right? And I'm like, guys, this works. Let's like make this happen. Come on, I'm with my 5th line practical, like, let's do this together. I'm like, chop, 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 chop. And Bella's like, come with me. So yeah, I love it so much. And if you like our energy, then join it with us. I'll post a link here. I'll post a link in the Facebook group, and there's an email that's going to go out, and you'll get, if you're registered, bit.ly/venuswork, you're going to get everything. So all the replays, all the worksheets, we have 6 worksheets, we have 6 replays. And so if you came in right now and you're like, I don't know what the hell we're talking about, you can catch up. If this is resonating with you and you feel like, ooh, there's an idealist in me. I don't know what the hell they're talking about, but what they said, like, that feels like truth to me. Then you probably have the idealist in you. So yes, super excited for where we're going. I'm going to type in the comments. Is there any kind of closing words you would say, Bella?
I mean, this is just the beginning of the journey. These are super important stepping stones. I would say if you understand the archetypes, you can read a human design profile, a Gene Key profile, you can weave through it, and it's like it's really stepping stones to like an opening to understand everything. So you know, I mean, I started here, and it's just the beginning. It's super valuable, and I would love you to continue exploring by yourself or with us.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking this little adventure with us and hearing us out, and also inviting the archetypes into your heart and saying, I care what you say. I care who you are. I care to understand you, because they're part of you. And so the more you accept and embrace them, the more you come into unity within yourself. So I think it's so honorable and so amazing that you have decided to step with us on this journey, because the more you understand these, the more you're going to accept them, the more you'll be able to be accepting in your life and in your relationship, because you'll be able to see, I see you, I know you're wounding, and I know this is what you need. And so it'll create better relationships for you. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful Saturday.